Hello chess friends and welcome to Zadov's chess channel and welcome to the Airthing Masters tournament in 2020. We're again in the finals between Aronian and Radjabov. We're now in the game 3. Yesterday Radjabov won the first match game. Now in the day 2 Radjabov had also decisive advantage. He won one game. He also drew the second game and now he basically needs only one draw out of the two next games and he's the winner of the super cool tournament that we have followed now this couple of days, because I think this tournament gave us such great joy. We have followed really some great attacks, great tactical battles, great sharp opening lines. Really incredible stuff happened in this tournament. So let's check out now the game 3. It was the last chance for Aronian to make something to happen and he opened again with the move e4. We have e5 by Radjabov, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5. Again the gioco piano, the Italian game, the symmetrical opening stuff. c3, we have again knight to f6 by Radjabov attacking the e4, again forcing Aronian to play the move d3. We have d6 and now again Aronian goes for the pinning idea, bishop to g5, but now queen to e7 played by Radjabov. In the last game he tried some ideas like h6 g5. Here he tried queen to e7. The queen is pinned here, but the most important thing I think to notice here is that you have taken the natural square with the move c3. You have taken the natural square for your knight. The knight would of course love to come here on knight to c3, then knight to d5 would be very dangerous. And still, if somehow this knight comes to c3, then you still have time to play h6 g5 and kick away this bishop. So here in the game castling we have bishop to b6 by Radjabov, staying on this very active diagonal. This is very important to stay with this bishop on this most active diagonal, because there are many times in the gioco piano some tactical threats around the square f2. We have knight to d2 and now bishop to e6. Again, Radjabov plays on the same idea, because after bishop to e6 we could even try queen to e6, but most of the times you will see f takes e6. Again, I'm pointing out this f takes e6 idea is also weakness by black, but also we're taking over of this very important squares on the board, which basically white would love to occupy, white would love to cement the knight somewhere on these two squares. So here after the move bishop to e6 we have b4 by Aronian, trying to expand on the queen side, trying over here an attack with his pawns against these two minor pieces. The minor pieces of blacks could be an object of white attack, so that's why here castling. And after a4 you have to do something. You have to play now a6 or a5. a6 I think it's more precise, and we have now bishop to d5. Why is Aronian playing this move? What we can notice always about this pawn structures here in the center, it means we have a static pawn structure. So as I said, we want to bring some of our minor pieces on the square d5 or on f5. So bishop to d5 again is threatening some positional trade of pieces with bishop to c6, b takes c6, and then black could have a messed up pawn structure on the c file. At least here Aronian is trying to provoke some kind of a weakness in the game h6, bishop to h4, and again bishop to g5, and now bishop to e6 played by Aronian. If you take now this one, then again we can retreat, and we can notice now that this could be also a long-term weakness. You could maybe h3, but then knight to g3, knight to h4, and then finally to occupy this weak square f5. So it's, I think, a much better position. So that's why after the move bishop to e6 we have queen to e6 and now bishop to g3. This bishop is a little bit blocked out, it's pushed away really. I like this dark square bishop of blacks much better here. All of these knights, both knights for white and for black, will find a way into the games here. Knight to c4, knight to e3 again, and knight to d5, knight to f5 possibilities still for black somehow. Maybe knight to h5, knight to f4 is also a possibility. So basically the game is now directed to potential outposts for both sides. In the game knight to e7 was played, and now we have knight to c4, bishop to a7. Still Radjabov has this very powerful diagonal for the dark square bishop. So knight to e3, we have c6, rook to e1, getting the rook of course on the same file like the queen, preparing some d4 ideas. If something gets open, then the queen could be endangered by this rook on the e file. Rook from a to d8. Radjabov does the same. He wants also, if something gets opened here, then he could also threaten here the queen on d1, queen to c2. Aronian gets out of the tactical mess, out of the d file where the queen could be endangered, and now rook from f to d8, and now rook from a to d1. This is Really an equal game. I think the player that makes a huge blunder can only lose this one, at least in the top grandmaster level. I would lose this game for sure against a much stronger opponent, but at this top grandmaster level we can see that okay, maybe Teemu Radjabov has an expansion here. Still, you have a space advantage on the king side, but you have also some weaknesses, the weak g6 squared, the weak h7 squared. But as I said, the evolution is here really about equal, so no mistakes so far by both players. So b5, very important move by Teemu Radjabov. What he's trying to do is block the queen side, but also to keep many of his pawns on light squares, because what we can notice, we have a dark square bishop, so in long terms, you see with the move b5, if this game goes into an endgame, and maybe we have only the bishops on the board, then you see c3, b4, our pawns on dark square, so they maybe can be attacked in long terms, of course not immediately, but as a long-term plan to attack somehow these two pawns. So that's why Aronian is trying to do the same, trying to keep the pawns on light squares. Here bishop to e3, we have rook to e3, and now after knight to g6, that's our goal. As I said in the beginning, the outpost on f4. h3, we have knight to h5, we have rook to c1. If you take out now this bishop, it's not so good, because f takes g3 will happen, and you didn't gain anything because you are preparing this move knight to f4. That was your goal. Now the pawn is very important, although like we said in black's position, after f takes e6, the pawn on e6 could be a weakness, but it's also restricting some outposts on d5 on f5. Now this is also maybe a long-term weakness, but at least we're not allowing this knight to jump on f4. So here, after the move rook to c1, knight to f4, we have d4 by Aronian. He's trying now to open the position. Queen to f6, we have rook to d1. If you take maybe here, then let's go back. If you take here, maybe e takes d4, knight to d4, then this knight comes very active into the game. Then knight to f5 is really bad. So that's why again Teemu Radjabov plays a calm game here. Queen to f6, rook to d1, and now king to g7. We have a takes b5, a takes b5, c takes b5, c takes b5, and now queen to c6. Aronian gets with the queen more active, but still nothing dramatically is going on. I think here Teemu Radjabov is simplifying more and more the position, which is of course he likes this simplification lines, because he needs really only throw. He doesn't go into complications, which is a great strategy in the match game now against Aronian. Rook to b8, we have queen to d7, queen to rook to d8, queen to g4. Aronian found a good way to activate the queen, but still h5 could happen in long term. So far not possible because of g5, but again Teemu Radjabov goes into a simplified line. Queen to e6, bishop to f4, g takes f4, queen takes e6, f takes e6, and now rook to a3, maybe rook to c3, slightly more accurate, getting this rooks on the c file, but okay, rook to a3, here rook to a8, rook takes a8, rook takes, and now d takes e4, d takes e4. Okay, there is now this double pawn structure on the e file, but it's not such a weakness, because you can maybe attack one or two of these pawns, but still this king, the king is near enough to defend everything. You can only maybe include your rook into the attack. That's the most important thing. You don't have any support by your knight, by your king. The king is too far away from the action, so the evaluation is here 0.0. So as I said, here Aronian didn't gain anything. h4, king to f6, h5, kicking with the knight, knight to e7 now. Rook to d7, but here Radjabov counterattacks, which is I think a good choice, because okay, Aronian has this tactic, knight takes e5, king takes e5, but now rook to e7. But okay, after king to f6, rook to e8, here Radjabov can also take out now this pawn. Maybe black is even slightly better, because black has managed to create a pass pawn, but still it's a drawish line. We have f3, rook to b2, king to h2, here king to h3. Now the rook goes behind, king to e5, rook to b6, rook to b1, king to g4, here rook to g1, and after a check, king to d4. Aronian has to take, but Teemu Radjabov can also take out this one. King takes f4, but this was Teemu Radjabov's goal. He has now the opportunity to attack this pawn. Again, he can take another pawn. Rook to b4, rook, king to d3, e5, rook takes h5, rook to rook to b6. We have now rook to f5. You have to go here on g4, but now h5, king to h4, rook takes e5, and now after f4 both players agree to a draw, because you have to leave the defense of at least one of the pawns. This is a theoretical draw, so which means Teimour Radjabov is the winner of the Airthing Masters tournament in 2020. Congratulations to Teimour. He really deserved it. When he watched this tournament, he played really so calm games. He played really this game's ice cold. He basically never allowed in this match game for Levon Aronian to spread his wings. Levon Aronian is also a great attacker. As I said, Teimour Radjabov deserves his win. He played an outstanding performance in the semifinals, quarterfinals, in the finals. So he is now the winner. We have really refreshment in chess. I think we have seen that attacking chess has been rewarded, although Teimour Radjabov played a more pragmatic style, but also in the match game against Hikaru Nakamura, also in the game against Daniil Dubov, he played really great sharp chess, and that's why he, as I said, he's the deserved winner of this super final. Congratulations again, Teimour. Really great performance in 2021. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game, and I hope that you enjoyed my coverage of this tournament so far. If you want to see more games from this tournament, check out my playlist, which I've created so far, the Airthing Masters tournament. Here's the link, and if you like to see maybe the best chess games of all times, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also the link, and if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and Teimour is the best, of course.